Coming to you live from the Tino Studios in Minooka, Illinois. I'm your host, Bucky Shanks, and this is Tino Tonight. Welcome everybody to the Week 10 edition of Tino Tonight. 9 weeks down and only 2 to go as we creep closer to the conference title games. 4 teams have officially clinched spots in their conference title games. UCLA and Arizona State have taken care of business and they will meet in the Pac-12 title game. Penn State and Tennessee have also handled their business and they will be playing in Week 12 as well. But we aren't going to waste any more time. Let's get to the squeak of the week. We head to Stillwater as third-ranked Iowa State looked to stay perfect versus 19th-ranked Oklahoma State, who has an outside shot for a seat in the Big 12 title game. Oklahoma State was led by a 61.80 point effort from Russell Wilson. They also got 61.25 from Justin Simmons. Iowa State was helped out in a losing cause with 78 points from Jordan Poyer, and with that performance, Poyer was the number 1 ranked safety for Week 9. They also got 77.50 from Logan Ryan. Final score, Oklahoma State 945.20 to Iowa State's 924.65. The 20.55 point win is the 42nd closest in Tino history. And this loss falls squarely on the shoulders of the coaching staff who benched Drew Brees for Phillip Rivers. The 33-point difference would have kept the Cyclones perfect. Now they run the risk of not even making the conference title game. And that brings us to movers and shakers. And only one team qualified this week, and it's fitting. It's the number 1 team in the land. The UCLA Bruins continued their march for perfection as they put up over 1,400 points on Oregon. The 1,400 points is the second highest total in Tino history. The only total higher was the 1,418 that UCLA put up in Week 3 earlier this year. Wins over number 14 Colorado and number 17 Oregon have landed them in this segment. They will not be back next week as they take on a historically bad USC team. The Bruins are playing for seeding at this point for the playoffs. They take on Arizona State in the season finale and again in the conference title game, but that's enough about UCLA. We're going streaking.
We're going streaking! Yes! We're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium. Come on, bring your green hat. We're streaking! We're streaking! Woo! Woo!
What the hell are you doing?
We're streaking!
UCLA has now broken Oklahoma's regular season win streak as they have now won 11 regular season games in a row. They still chase Oklahoma's overall win streak, but they are up to 9 in a row. The Bruins face hated in-state rival USC this week. Iowa State got knocked off by Oklahoma State, so we won't see them again in this segment for a while. I guess you can just say, the buck stops here. Am I right, C. Bergeron? Tennessee has now won 9 straight regular season games in a row, as well as 9 straight overall. They are hot on UCLA's trail if they happen to slip up. The Volunteers get Alabama next, who is knocking on the door of a bowl game. In Iowa and Wake Forest remain consistent. The Hawkeyes have now dropped 14 straight and will tie USC's 15-game skid with a loss this week to Maryland. The Demon Deacons have now dropped 9 straight and will look to snap the skid versus Notre Dame. And that brings us to the brand new Top 25. Coming in at number 25, West Virginia 5-4. The Mountaineers have Kansas State and TCU remaining on the schedule in games they will likely be favored. If they can get to 7-4 and a few things fall their way, this team could sneak into the playoffs. Number 24, Mississippi State 5-4. The Bulldogs are finding out just how fast life comes at you in Tino NCAA. Just 3 weeks ago, this team was 5-1 and threatening for an SEC title berth and looking for a high playoff seed. Fast forward to now, and 3 losses later, and the Bulldogs are just lucky to be ranked. LSU and a tanking South Carolina team are all that's left as this team will look to make a push for the playoffs. Number 23, Colorado 4-5. The Buffaloes, once the darlings of Tino NCAA, have now lost 2 straight and are holding on for dear life. They face a suddenly surging California team this week with USC in the finale. Number 22, Oregon 4-5. The Ducks come in losing 2 straight. They sport the 5th-ranked offense, but unfortunately the 50th-ranked defense, as nobody has had more points scored on them than anybody else. What? Since making the national championship last year, literally everyone has gone duck hunting. They have the offense to compete with anyone. If they can get into the playoffs, they are going to be a real threat to a higher seed. But first, they need to handle their business with Washington this week. Number 21, Virginia Tech 5-4. The Hokies have suddenly woke up and have won 3 straight. They have Georgia Tech this week and Virginia Tech next week, and they will have a major say in how the postseason shakes out as well as the ACC title game. Number 20, Washington 5-4. The Huskies have won 3 straight and have a must-win game with Oregon this week. Win, and the playoff chances still exist. Lose, and find out where you will be going bowling. Number 19, Florida 5-4. The Gators have won 2 straight and face Auburn in a huge matchup. Win and keep your SEC title and playoff hopes alive. Lose and go bowling. Number 18, Arkansas 5-4. The Razorbacks have won 3 straight and take on Vanderbilt in a game they will be favored before facing Tennessee in the season finale. Number 17, Michigan State 6-3. The Spartans' low-scoring attack caught up with them last week, and they would be out of the playoffs if the season started today. Luckily for them, it does not. Michigan is up next in a must-win for Sparty. Number 16, Ohio State 5-4. The Buckeyes have won 2 straight and face a Nebraska team that hasn't scored over 800 points since week 3. Ohio State should coast into the season finale with hated rival Michigan. Number 15, Florida State 6-3. The Seminoles have lost 2 out of 3 and enter another big game. Feels like every ACC game is big lately. They take on Syracuse this week in a must-win for both sides. Conference title game and playoff hopes on the line. Number 14, Oklahoma State 6-3. The Cowboys, fresh off their squeak of the week over Iowa State, have now won 3 straight and really threw a wrench in the Big 12 title picture as well as kept their own hopes alive. They take on Baylor this week in a game that Kansas and Iowa State will definitely be scoreboard watching. Number 13, Syracuse 6-3. The Orange have the offense rolling again and have won 2 straight. Florida State this week and Virginia Tech in the finale. It will be anything but easy for the Orange. Number 12, Rutgers 6-3. The Scarlet Knights have now won 4 straight. This team is flying under the radar, it seems, and they will need a little bit of help to get in the Big Ten title game. However, if they take care of their own business, they'll be dancing when the regular season finishes. Number 11, Auburn 6-3. The Tigers have won 3 straight and control their own destiny to make it to the SEC title game. Standing in their way is 19th ranked Florida. Big game in the SEC. Number 10, Clemson 7-2. The Tigers have won 2 straight and got a huge win over Florida State last week. NC State is up this week before a showdown with Georgia Tech in the finale. Number 9, Arizona State 8-1. The Sun Devils have bounced back from the loss to Colorado by winning 2 straight. They face Arizona before a showdown with UCLA in the finale. However, they have already clinched their spot in the conference title game. Number 8, Georgia Tech 7-2. The Yellow Jackets have won 6 out of 7, and C. Bergeron has his Yellow Jackets buzzing. Georgia Tech is a game up with 2 to play, so they will decide their own fate in the conference title picture. Virginia Tech and Clemson remain on the schedule, so it will definitely not be easy. Number 7, Michigan 7-2. The Wolverines have won 3 straight and face Michigan State this week in a must-win. If they win, they will remain in the driver's seat for their chance at revenge over Penn State in the conference title game. Number 6, Baylor 8-1. The Bears have won 2 straight since the loss to Iowa State. They have a dangerous Oklahoma State team this week and Texas Tech in the finale. They need to take care of business this week to remain alive for their shot at the Big 12 title game. Number 5, Iowa State 8-1. The Cyclones got tripped up by Oklahoma State last week and have really opened the door for a number of possibilities on how the Big 12 title game turns out. They have Oklahoma this week and then a showdown with Kansas in the finale. Number 4, Penn State 8-1. The Nittany Lions have won 8 straight since dropping the season opener. They have clinched their spot in the Big Ten title game and face Purdue this week before Maryland in the finale. Number 3, Kansas 8-1. The Jayhawks have won 4 in a row since the loss to Baylor. Texas is up next this week before the showdown with Iowa State in the finale. Number 2, Tennessee 9-0. The Volunteers remain perfect after beating LSU. Alabama is up next and Arkansas in the finale. Tennessee has clinched its spot in the SEC title game. Number 1, UCLA 9-0. The Bruins also remain perfect after putting up the second most points in Tino history. They face USC this week before Arizona State in the finale. They have also locked up their spot in the Pac-12 title game. And that brings us to the games of the week. Number 21, Virginia Tech versus number 8, Georgia Tech. The Hokies sit 6th in the conference, but only a game out of the final spot in the conference title game. Georgia Tech is currently first and controls their own destiny. Number 13, Syracuse versus number 15, Florida State. The Orange sit 2nd and the Seminoles sit 4th, both 5-2 in the conference. Huge game for how the ACC title game will shake out. Number 17, Michigan State versus number 7, Michigan. The Wolverines are 2nd and the Spartans 4th in the conference. Michigan State would leap Michigan with a win here. Number 6, Baylor versus number 14, Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are 4th and a game behind the Bears, who are currently 2nd. With a win, Oklahoma State would lead Baylor in the standings. Number 20, Washington versus number 22, Oregon. With the conference title game already decided, this game is 2 teams fighting for their playoff lives. Number 11, Auburn versus number 19, Florida. The Tigers currently hold the remaining spot for the SEC title game. The Gators are a game behind them. Florida would leap Auburn with a win. Clemson remains first, 9-2 overall. Last week they went 4-2. Washington jumped to second, 8-3 overall last week, 4-2. Florida 7-4 overall, last week 3-3. NC State 6-5 overall, last week 4-2. And North Carolina 5-6 overall, last week 2-4. And this week's picks are in Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech. Clemson, the lone wolf on Virginia Tech, the other 4 on Georgia Tech. Syracuse, Florida State. Washington's the lone wolf on Florida State. Michigan State and Michigan, 2 out of 3 on Michigan State, the other 3 on Michigan. Baylor, Oklahoma State. NC State's lone wolf on Oklahoma State. Washington versus Oregon. Washington has 3 of the picks. And Auburn versus Florida. Florida has 3 of the picks. And that brings us to if the season ended today. If the season ended today in the Gator Bowl, Georgia would be taking on LSU. The Outback Bowl, Wisconsin would be taking on Oregon State. The Citrus Bowl, California would be taking on Oklahoma. And the Peach Bowl, Maryland would be taking on North Carolina. The Cotton Bowl, Notre Dame will be taking on West Virginia, and in the Orange Bowl, Mississippi State will be taking on Colorado. The Fiesta Bowl, Oregon will be taking on Virginia Tech, and in the Rose Bowl, Washington will be taking on Florida. The Sugar Bowl, Arkansas will be taking on Michigan State. And if the playoffs started today, number 1 UCLA would take on number 16 Ohio State, number 8 Georgia Tech versus number 9 Arizona State, number 5 Iowa State versus number 12 Rutgers, number 4 Penn State versus number 13 Syracuse, number 6 Baylor versus number 11 Auburn, number 3 Kansas versus number 14 Oklahoma State, number 7 Michigan versus number 10 Clemson, and number 2 Tennessee versus number 15 Florida State. And that'll do it for this week's edition of Tino Tonight. For all of us here at Tino Studios inside Buckingham Palace, I'm your host, Bucky Shanks. Good night, everybody.